Hello everyone, welcome to a bonus episode of the SEO Mindset podcast, and I've created this episode because we are coming up to the 22nd of June, which is on Monday, and that marks week 26, so we will officially have finished half of the year and we're into the second half. And what I find a lot of people are saying to me right now, and I'm feeling it too, so I'm going to be really honest about it, is where did the first half of the year go? It's common to feel that I've lost all of this time, I should be further along the line. I had all of these great intentions in January, and I just want to reassure everyone that this is completely normal. So I'm going to take you through some tips of what you can do, and we're also going to republish an episode called all about career success and the 10 ways that you can progress in your career towards career success. So hopefully this little bit of insight from me plus that episode together will get you back on track, because that's the point I want to make, that this feeling that many of us are having, it's completely normal. Time happens, life happens, and the expectations that we had on whether it's New Year's Eve or 1st January, whatever it was, doesn't always go to plan. In fact, it rarely goes to plan. So I'm feeling it, and this is what I'm doing. What I have been doing the last few days and continue to do for maybe a bit more today is I'm going to be creating a 90-day plan, which I'm going to start on Monday, the 22nd of June. So in those 90 days, why am I doing 90 days and not 6 months? Because 6 months feels daunting, whereas 90 days feels tangible. So I'm having a little bit of a reset. And the questions I'm asking myself in this reset is, does my vision of life still excite me? How much time do I actually have? Because that's where I went wrong in the first 6 months of this year. What are my real life constraints? So this could be holidays, this could be family situations, it can be all sorts of things. And what is it that I really want to achieve in the next 90 days? So I started this process as one thing I'm going to be talking a bit later is about accountability, but I've got a cousin in Australia who's really good at business and stuff. So she's been guiding me through this process. And the first thing she got me to do was to look at my vision. Did it excite me? Was I being honest about what I wanted in it? And at first I thought, yeah, of course it's still exciting. But when I looked at it, I thought, actually, I don't think I've been fully honest. There are things there that I want which I haven't put in, which I have now. And have I learned something about myself that is an update to that vision board that I created? And in reality, there is an update, because I was talking to a client. We were talking about things she could do for exploration, and she wants to travel. And she said, I really want to do something that feels liberating. She mentioned that she really wanted to go to the festival of colour called Holi. And if you don't know what it's like, you basically go and splash colour on each other, whether it's spray colours or powder colours. And I thought, wow, that feels, I really want to do that. And I think what I've been doing with my creative and my hobby is playing it really safe. Now, I still like writing, I still like reading, which are the things which I had, but I think there's a part of me that's wakening up that actually I want to do some zip wire and I want to learn how to ride a bike. Yeah, I don't know how to ride a bike. So be really honest with yourself, with your vision board. Is it what you want, or are you just being a tame version of yourself, or not a complete honest version of yourself? So that's step number one. Have a look at your vision, and I've had a look at mine, and I'm much happier with it. Okay, then the next thing I was guided through, which I'm guiding you through now, is what are your actual goals? Because some of mine, even though I've done this so many times, there were still a couple that were quite vague. And the more specific you are and the more tangible, the more easy it is to measure. So saying I want to grow my business is very different to say I want to increase my revenue to this level. Saying I want to get fitter is very different to say I'm going to exercise this many times a week. So don't say I want to lose this much weight or I want to be able to run this fast in this time. It's more about what you can do. How many times can you exercise? How focused are you on your nutrition? So it's about things that you're in control of. Another one is I want to increase the downloads of my podcast, but what actions can I do? Because I can ask people or I can encourage people. It doesn't mean that they are going to listen to it, but it's what actions am I able to do? So you've done your vision bit, and then you're going to look at your goals, and then be really honest on this next thing. How much time do you actually have? Because we seem to think that we have 6 months or 90 days of uninterrupted time, but in reality, we don't. Life is very good at throwing curveballs, and even without the curveballs, like you might have a week booked for holiday, but in your plan, you're not allowing for it. You're not going to be working on your goals in that week off. I hope not, anyway. So take that 90-day plan, get a calendar, go into Canva, there's loads of them around, and blank out the times when you know you're not going to be working on your business or your podcast or whatever it is. Or even if it's fitness goals, or maybe you're not going to be exercising 3-4 times a week while you are in this wonderful place that is full of yummy food, and you think, I'm going to have a week off. And also busy times, family commitments, existing projects, all sorts of things. So be really mindful, because when we're not, we're just setting ourselves up for failure, not success, for failure, because we are being unrealistic with what we're able to do. The next thing that I was asked to do, which I found really difficult, was review the first half of the year really honestly. It's so important to do, but don't be harsh and judge, and just be honest with yourself. What are the tactics that you used that actually didn't work? When is it that you thought you'd have time but you didn't? Is it a goal you really want? The more honesty you can have about the first half of the year, the better your second half is going to be. So you've got your vision, you've got your goals, you know how much time you have, you've learned from your mistakes. Now build that 90-day plan week by week. I mean, some people might go day to day. I haven't gone day to day, I've gone week by week. And one thing that she said to me was, what's the easiest thing that you can do that's going to get you the most results? Do that first. And then the second easiest with the second best results, do that next. Because what that does is it builds momentum, it builds motivation, it feels good. So when we are building a plan, don't feel that you've got to do the hardest things first. I know a lot of people think that you've got to do the hardest things first, and maybe there's merit in it, but you know what? I'm going to be doing some of the easier ones, my quick wins, in the first 2 weeks. And then the next thing that I'm definitely going to have is her holding me accountable. So I'm going to share my plan with her. I've already shared bits of it, and we're going to have regular check-ins. So then I know that somebody's looking at my work. I can't let it slip. So when you have structure and accountability, that really helps. So maybe you've got an accountability buddy, maybe you hire someone, but those external check-ins really help break down those internal patterns. And I know that there's a couple of mine that I want to break down. So those are the things that I am doing, but there's one or two things I want to talk about. So when it comes to advice on setting goals and working towards goals, and I know I've said it, consistency is key. But what I'm learning, being really honest here, that it's really hard to do something every single day. And I saw this slide on the internet yesterday by this woman called Alice Benham, I think her name is pronounced. And she's a business strategist. I saw her on Instagram. And she had a slide that said something like persistence is more important than consistency. So what she's saying, it's really hard to do the same thing every day. And then when you don't, you feel guilty. When you feel guilty, you then procrastinate. So accept that you're not going to be able to do something every single day, but don't judge yourself. Just go back to it the next day, but be persistent, keep going. And I think that's what I'm going to really embrace in this 90 days, because definitely in the first half of the year, a lot of it was, not a lot of it, but some of it was consumed with, I should be further than this, I should work harder, I should do that. And if consistency creates guilt, then it's not really useful, I would say. Okay. And my last thing, and it sort of leads on from it, is the importance of self compassion. You know, ask yourself, what's really going to work for me this season? Look after your energy. Like I said, guilt is not a good growth strategy, but just know that the thing that you're doing it for you. Do it to the best of your ability, but not in a way that really harms your well-being, not in a way that harms your self-confidence. Just keep going, and I wish you the best of luck, and I know that you wish the best of luck to me too. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Now let's listen to the episode and enjoy that too. Take care. Hello everyone, Tazmin here. You are in for a sneak preview today, a sneak preview into the talk that I'm going to be delivering tomorrow at Brighton. So that's if you're listening today on the Thursday that this podcast episode's released, which I really hope you are. Anyway, back to the talk. I'm going to be talking tomorrow at Brighton on the mindset of career success. And the reason it matters so much to me because it's so aligned with what we have created at the podcast. A talk to help you feel that you're in control of your career, your growth, and your well-being. So let me ask you a question. Are you designing your career, or are you just drifting through? Maybe you're at a crossroads. You want to increase the impact of at your current level. Maybe you want to progress to the next level. So have a think about where you are in your career trajectory and where you want to get to. Um, I asked the question, do you feel that you're drifting? Because so many people drift through their career. I definitely drifted through a large amount of mine. And what that left me feeling was really like exhausted and unfulfilled and just like it was same old day. And there was a moment that, and I've talked about this in the past, there's a moment where I decided, you know what, I'm going to take ownership of my career. And that was the moment it all changed for me. I went from what many refer to as an employee mindset, where I was reactive, I was drifting. You know, if the company I was working for decided to go down a certain path, I went down that path. If my manager wanted me to learn a certain skill, I went and learned that skill. So it was very much reactive to what people and organizations wanted from me. And I shifted from that to an entrepreneurial type mindset where I was more proactive. I took control of my career. And that led me from going from working in SEO to building the podcast with Sarah, my coaching, and so on and so forth. So, in the talk, I'm going to be talking about the 10 steps to career success. And this is what I'm going to share with you today as well. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't more things that we can add to this, but at its core, if you follow these 10 steps, really be reflective of where you are and where you want to be, you will move forward. Absolutely, you will move forward. So let's dive into step number 1. And it's all about self-belief, because a lot of what's going to be needed to take you from where you are to where you want to be is much more of an inner game. It's a mindset game. And self belief is definitely a mindset thing. With me and my self belief, you know, when I was growing up, I was always thinking of myself as a poor student, you know, somebody who really couldn't study. And as a 16-year-old, when I took my first set of major exams, I failed them so badly. I mean, I didn't fail all of them, but I failed most of them. And I really felt that studying wasn't for me. And fast forward, when I was a 33-year-old, I was a mum of two. I graduated with a first class degree. And the thing that changed was that I believed I could do it. So when I was 16, I didn't believe that I could do it. When I was 33, I absolutely did believe I could do it. And what it meant was that when I had that self belief, I started taking the actions that were different to the actions my 16-year-old self were taking. I'm going to be talking more about this in an episode that I'm going to record with Sarah in the next few weeks. But, by and large, what happened was when I was 16, because I didn't believe in myself, I didn't tap into my potential, I didn't take the actions needed, and therefore I didn't get that result. So, 16, didn't really work hard, didn't get good results, and that then furthered my belief that I was a poor student. But when I turned 33, I had that belief that I could do it, which meant that I was tapping into more of my potential, which means I was taking different actions. I was reading different books. I was prioritizing my study time. I was looking after myself. I was more, energized, and that all led into me getting a different result, a first class degree, and then that further built that belief in me that I could do it. So, what you believe you are capable of doing is really key to all of this. And it's about elevating how you think of yourself. A lot of that has to do with how you speak to yourself, how you prioritize yourself. Like I said, we're going to, be recording a separate episode in this in the next couple of weeks. But that is step number one. Step number two is know who you are and what you want. Because if otherwise you could reach the top of your ladder, the one that you're climbing, only to realize that it was leaning against the wrong wall. If you don't know who you are and what you want, how are you ever going to get there? Now, self awareness, which is what this is, it can sound like an abstract concept, but here is one way you can make it more practical. Reflect on your career journey. So look back at your previous roles, and these are voluntary roles and paid roles. Which ones did you really enjoy? Which tasks did you thrive in? What skills did you learn? What what do you never want to do again? What was that project that you absolutely hated? Or what was that project that really made you feel like you were in flow? Because all of this will help you understand what your perfect role is and which skills that you really want to develop. So get a piece of paper, write down, in one column role, in other column, you know, what was your experience, another column for what skills you learned, and then summarize it. You know what? If I got a role that embodied that, I'd be really in line with who I was. And alternatively, if I ever got this type of job again, I never want to do it again. The other part of understanding who you are is understanding your algorithm. We've recorded an episode on this in the past, and I will, there's a link in the show notes that gives you access to it. So, you know, when you understand who you are, your algorithm is basically how your mind works. So, one part of it is your story. What story are you telling yourself? Are you saying to yourself, you'll never make that senior position? Or are you telling yourself that you will? Because then this impacts your actions. Another part of your algorithm is your values. Which values anchor you? Which values are important to you? Is it growth? In which case, the role that you want is one which encourages you to grow, encourages to progress. Is it flexibility that you are seeking now? Maybe you're in a phase of life where you want to have flexible working. Is it collaborative working? Is it more alone working? All of this will shape what role is aligned with you. Another thing about your algorithm is how well do you manage your stress? Because if you are somebody who struggles with that, that can be part of your learning. If you are seeking to go into a role that really requires you to make quick, important decisions, then being able to handle your stress and manage your emotions is hugely important. So, understanding all of this will help you understand the next part of, how do I want to improve? What sort of role am I seeking? As I said before, your growth is much more of an inner game than an outer game. So if you can understand the way you work internally, this is really going to be hugely beneficial. The third step is to create a really exciting vision, because if you have that vision that fuels you, that so when you get out of bed, you are keen to take that next step towards that vision. It's so important because it will pull you forward. So going on to, going from the last few steps about understanding what you want, understanding the roles that you've thrived in, start creating a vision of your perfect role, your perfect life, your best life, and put a lot of detail in it, because when we are activating more of our senses, when we see a visualization of our life, it's going to make you feel excited. That energy is going to be raised within you, and you need that energy to be raised. So that's step number 3, building a great vision. Step 4 is okay, so you've got that vision. Now it's about embracing change. This is where the journey starts getting what often people think of as uncomfortable, but really it is unfamiliar. We talk about the comfort zone as if it's somewhere really nice to be, but sometimes, the comfort zone isn't always comfortable, it's just familiar. And if we don't make any changes, so the old saying, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So this step is really about getting comfortable with feeling, with doing new things, with trying out new actions. If it doesn't work, it's okay. You just come back to the drawing board, get really comfortable with doing things that are different. Now, step number 5 is all about taking aligned action. I have seen so many people who have, really fueled themselves and want to progress in their career. They have this vision, and then they say, "Oh, I'm going to spend some time getting more visible." Okay, getting more visible. How are you going to do that? I'm going to post on LinkedIn 3 times a week, and I'm going to speak at lots of events. Okay, great. What are you going to speak about? Oh, I don't know. If you want to be known for something, know what that is. And then you pick the talks or you pitch the talks aligned to that. Or you write on LinkedIn about topics aligned to that. I'm not saying that you can never write a post about anything else at all. Absolutely not. But what I am saying is when you have that vision and you've turned it into a goal of, say, I want to secure my next role by the next 6 months, what sort of role is it? If it is a leadership role, then you talk about leadership type topics, or you seek opportunities in your organization to lead a project. If you're going to take actions which are not aligned in that manner, then what's going to happen is you're just going to be productive, and it doesn't always mean progress. So Chris Simmons taught me this really great, almost like a flow chart of which opportunities to pick and which ones not to pick. And it is, so there's 4 Fs. First F is fit. Is this opportunity a good fit? Next question is this opportunity going to give me a fee? So the next F is fee. Now, if it isn't a good fit and you're not getting any fee from it, then ask yourself another F. Is it fun? If it's not a good fit and you're not getting paid for it and it's not fun, then you do the fourth F, which is flee. Right? So a really great way of um, sort of like assessing whether you want to say yes to that opportunity. Because here's the thing that about saying yes. When you say yes to anything or anybody, you are normally you're going to have to say no to something else because everything is a trade-off, right? If you're saying no to the action that's aligned to you, then that's not going to serve you. So really get used to taking aligned action, figuring out whether it's a fit, fee, fun, or flee opportunity, and really ask yourself, what am I saying no to? So that brings us to number 6. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do number 6 after the break, and then yeah, next part of the countdown. Welcome back to part 2 of this podcast, which is your sneak preview into my Brighton talk. So at the beginning, before the break, we went through steps 1 to 5, and now we're getting to step number 6, which is the power of focus and consistency. What I find with many people is that they do all those steps, they create their vision, they create their goals, and they create so many and they want to do them all at once. Well, first of all, your brain's going to go like kaput because it's going to say, too much change. I don't want to do this. And it's not going to help you at all. But if you pick a few goals, you're going to make more progress than if you try to do everything. And you could really be intentional. You could pick one goal, focus on that, and take one step forward every single day. Because think about if you want to learn a new skill. If you say, I'm going to learn that one skill and I'm going to do one piece of learning every day for 3 months, imagine how far you're going to get. So that definitely is a really important one because success isn't about always doing more. It's about doing what matters intentionally, consistently, and in alignment with who you are. That's really going to help you. Step number 7 is about investing in yourself. Now, investing is a sort of self care as well. We think about self care as, uh, going on a spa day or having a treat or a day out. But there is a part of self care which is intellectual self care. So think about the thing that you want to become, the thing you want to learn. What's going to help you? Maybe it's a podcast. And if it is, I hope it is this one. Um, is it a book that you want to read? Is there a course that you want to take? Do you need to seek a mentor or a coach? Because at the end of the day, you are your biggest asset and the person most in control of your story. So no matter what changes in the outside world, the one constant is you. So the more investment you give to you, the better that's going to be for you. Right, step number 8, don't deprioritize the non-negotiables. What do I mean by that? A lot of toxic hustle culture will talk about non-negotiables as um, like you got to get up at 5 every day and you've got to read this many things, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. I'm not saying don't do those things, but your non-negotiables, things like your physical health, your mental health, your social health, your relationships, those are what is going to really fuel you. And it's about doing those things every single day as well. Because resting and recharging isn't what you do when you're broken, it's what you do every day so that you don't break. Toxic hustle culture is not the answer to a long and sustainable career. And the things that we're often encouraged to drop are the fuel that we need. So think about the relationships that are important to you and make spending time with that person, those people, your non-negotiables. Think about the amount of sleep you need to make you thrive. Again, your sleep then becomes your non-negotiable. Think about your diet, think about your movement. All of those, when you put those in place in your calendar, those are things that are going to fuel your mental and physical health. So number 9, we're almost getting to the end. Number nine is appreciate the struggle. So, it doesn't feel nice when we fail at something, when things don't go our way, when we don't get the opportunity. But really appreciate what they're doing for your resilience. That I think I've mentioned it in a previous podcast. So think of a mountain. If your aim is to get to the top, you can do it in two ways. You can either be helicoptered to the top or you can climb. And climbing is much, much harder. Helicoptering, however, you get there instantly. However, once you get off the helicopter, likelihood is your lungs are going to collapse because they have not got used to the altitude. Whereas when you climb, it's harder, but slowly but surely you are equipping your body and your resilience with what it needs to be able to get to the top. So the things that don't go well, appreciate those. And it leads to nicely to number 10, which is really acknowledging your achievements. So we've talked about the win jars so many times. This is about really looking at what you have succeeded in, learned, achieved each day, and really celebrating those wins. Because what you're doing is you are updating your internal CV, and that is so important. So, bonus tip is, start today. Because what I really want you to take away from this podcast is your career is happening, whether you're designing it or not. But if you start thinking of yourself as a designer, not the passenger, everything shifts. Whatever it is you want to do, you're already enough. Your idea is great, you know enough. You can just start by making those internal choices, setting boundaries, celebrating your growth instead of comparing it with other people or where you thought you should be. So your small step for today, take 5 minutes and ask yourself, what do I want the next chapter of my career to feel like? Don't jump straight into things like titles and salaries. Think about, how do you want your work to fit into your life? That clarity is where great career planning really begins. Now, if this podcast has resonated with you and you want to take your journey further, I'd love for you to explore some packages that we have created that are all around the mindset of career success. So what we've done is we've put together 3 things. We've put together a podcast playlist of episodes that are really going to support this podcast about the 10 steps of career success. And that podcast playlist is absolutely free. There's a link in the show notes and you can go and get it and get the download immediately. The next thing we have created to take that journey further is a 12-week email course. Now, again, the link is in the show notes. We're building on these 10 points and we're going to be sending emails out every week for you to self-study your way through and elevate your career. And the third option we have created is, again, the playlist, the email course, but also 3 transformational masterclasses. And if you sign up to this before the end of the year, you get a bonus live 2-hour goal setting workshop, which will be in January. We'll announce the date soon, where Sarah and I will talk you through how to set goals for your 2026. So you've got everything that you need to turn that insight into action. Um, you will find everything in the show notes. And if you're coming to Brighton, please come and say hello to Sarah and myself. We're both speaking on Friday. So excited about that. It's going to be packed with insight and honesty and strategies for you to really take control of your career. So until next time, it's goodbye from me and take care.